Our next section is on expressing fractions as percents, and this should be very similar to work we've done earlier this year when we worked with expressing fractions as decimals. When you look at this picture, well, first of all, it says Jessica spent 1/4 of her money on a pair of shoes. What percent of her money did she spend on the shoes? So earlier this year, I may have asked you to convert the 1/4 to a decimal, and my strategy for that was to make the denominator 100. So that could be our first method to converting to percent. We find a fraction equivalent to 1/4, and we get 25 100ths. And then we looked at the fact that you can remove the divided by 100 and add the percent sign. So 1/4 is equal to 25 100ths, which is equal to 25%. The second method I want to look at is where you look at the denominator and you think of there would be 4/4 in a whole, but we're only talking about one of the fourths. So the whole amount is equal to 1, which is 4/4, and she spent 1/4. Another way of saying a whole amount is 100%. So you take the 100% and divide it by 4, and you would get 25%. And that's explained in this picture right here. The one whole is 100%, 4 parts makes up 100%. So you take, to get one part, you do the 100% divided by 4, which is 25%. And then the last technique is to say, well, really, 1/4 is equal to 1/4 of a whole, and you could look at your one whole as 100%. So you could do 1/4 times 100%, and then 4 goes into 125 times, and the percent sign remains. So any of these three techniques is acceptable for converting a fraction to a percent. I would like you to pause the video here and just fill in the blanks for these two guided practice problems. And also pause again and complete these guided practice problems. On these 3 through 6, you'll notice that they have the two methods. They do not have you drawing a bar model to look at the denominator as the whole amount. Now, real world problems are where percents really come into play. This says there were 500 computers in a warehouse, 200 were shipped to a store. What percent of the computers were shipped? Could be a question asked with this information. So 200 of the 500 were shipped, so that becomes the fraction 200 over 500, which can reduce to 2/5. And technically, you could choose any of the three methods we talked about earlier. In this example, the way they've done it, they've talked about 2/5 times 100%, which is equal to 40%. I personally think of 2/5, 5 goes into 100 20 times, so 1/5 is 20%, so 2/5 would be 40%. Another interesting concept is if they're telling you that 200 were shipped to a store, they're also inadvertently not giving you the information how many weren't shipped, but you can answer that question. What percent of the computers were left at the warehouse, or how many computers weren't shipped? So it would be the difference between the ones that were shipped and the ones that they had in all. So you would do 100% minus the 40%, which is 60%. I kind of think of this as the complement of the answer to the original question. Again, here are two problems, no, maybe only one problem. And if you could pause the video and do these, that would be great. And I believe that's it for this section, so have a good night. Bye.